Om Shri Ganeshaya Namo Namah. Greetings to everyone, all our brothers and sisters across the globe. 25th of November 2022, we extend a very hearty welcome to all our brothers and sisters across the globe. We all are in the different time zone. We all are in different conditions post-pandemic. So people, those are joining us all the way from Canada, Latin America, United States, green morning to everyone. And people, those are joining us from Europe, it's a green afternoon. And people, those are joining us in India, neighboring countries and other places, it's a green evening for all of you. So ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. Every evening, we all meet together. We meet, we greet, and we treat. All the three things are together, wonderful way we take on the journey together. We move on together, and basic efforts are that let's make world a better place for all of us to live. इस संसार में एक दूसरे के साथ लड़ाई झगड़ा क्यों है? एक दूसरे के साथ इतना ज्यादा द्वेष क्यों है? क्यों नहीं सब लोग प्यार से इकट्ठे अच्छे से और एक दूसरे के साथ मिलकर रह सकते हैं? कोई कंट्री बहुत सारे आर्म्स और आर्मामेंट्स बनाती है, कोई कंट्री दो कंट्रीज को भिड़वाती है, वो दो कंट्रीज मूर्ख होती हैं जो लड़ती हैं। आप ये सोचिए कि ह्यूमैनिटी और सिविलाइजेशन का कितना नुकसान होता है। सो समवेयर वी ट्राई एंड रियलाइज ये सब क्यों हो रहा है? इज इट ए मार्केटिंग? ओके फाइन, can marketing or sales could be for good things instead of selling arms, armaments, ammunition, war equipments, destructive equipments? Can there be a better world? Can we all live peacefully? Can we all love each other as a human beings and humanity? We got to realize that. We got to think about it. When we look at this entire scenario, ये जो ग्लोबलाइजेशन है और ग्लोबलाइजेशन के अंदर जीडीपी है, ग्रॉस डोमेस्टिक प्रोड्यूस, एग्रीकल्चर से हम मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में आए, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग से हम लोग सर्विसेज में आए, एंड दैट इज द वे द वर्ल्ड इज मूविंग। कहीं एग्रीकल्चर ज्यादा है, कहीं मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ज्यादा है, कहीं सर्विसेज ज्यादा है। When we are taking all that into consideration, what comes to our mind is, what exactly is the purpose of life? Why have we come on this planet? चलिए इसके बारे में फिर कभी फिलोसॉफिकल बातचीत करते हैं। आज बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक है because we are moving ahead every day with education, with educators, with teachers, with counselors, with skill developers, skill providers, and coach, mentors, and technocrats, all of us together, whether in school or college or university or skill center or in ITI or polytechnic, wherever we are, every day we are moving that way. Now, what comes to our mind over here, something very important, ये सब कुछ जो दुनिया में हो रहा है और ये जो सब कुछ चल रहा है, क्या ये मार्केटिंग है? ये जो ग्लोबलाइजेशन है, क्या वो भी मार्केटिंग है? अगर ये मार्केटिंग है, सो व्हाट एग्जैक्टली द काइंड ऑफ ए मार्केटिंग? मार्केटिंग की जरूरत है? क्या हम नेचुरल रह सकते हैं, या हम मार्केटिंग के जरिए किसी को अपनी चीज थोपने की कोशिश करते हैं? चलिए कोई बात नहीं, उसको भी छोड़ दीजिए। नाउ व्हाट इज मार्केट रिसर्च? व्हाट इज once you have done the market research, then thereafter the sales people, they get into the action and they want to actually sell the product जिसकी मार्केट हुई है, because which product, how much product, where all product, in what quantity the product, in what quality the product, and services. When I'm talking about product, I'm talking about services as well. Both I'm taking together. तो जब हम इस सब चीज की बातचीत करते हैं, हमें कई बार ऐसा लगता है कि वर्ल्ड ओवर आसपास मार्केटिंग 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 हो रही है। और जब हम इस मार्केटिंग की बातचीत करते हैं, तो इस मार्केटिंग के पीछे कहीं मार्केट रिसर्च भी होगी। तो जो क्या मार्केट रिसर्च है, क्या वो अच्छी चीजों के लिए भी हो सकती है? हो सकती है, व्हाई नॉट? वी कैन डू द मार्केट रिसर्च फॉर किस तरीके की एजुकेशन कहाँ चाहिए, किस तरीके की स्किल कहाँ चाहिए, किस तरीके के टीचर कहाँ चाहिए, किस चीज की कहाँ कमी है। हम जब स्वॉट एनालिसिस करते हैं, स्ट्रेंथ, and weaknesses, and then we talk about opportunities, and when we talk about threats. So when we talk about that, कहीं ना कहीं हमारी बातचीत होती है और हम सोचते हैं कि मार्केटिंग का हमारी जिंदगी में क्या मकसद है, मार्केटिंग क्यों होती है, मार्केट रिसर्च क्यों होती है। और फिर मार्केट रिसर्च होने के बाद हम प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट बनाते हैं, हम डिटेल्ड प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट बनाते हैं, उस प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट को सबमिट करते हैं, और उसके बाद हमें कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिलता है, काम मिलता है, बिजनेस मिलता है, जो कुछ भी होता है। नाउ एवरीबडी इज डूइंग मार्केटिंग। नाउ व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट पॉजिटिव मार्केटिंग, and when we talk about dynamic marketing, when we talk about desired marketing, when we talk about deserving marketing, इन सब चीजों को जब हम लेकर चलते हैं तो हमारे चेंबर की तरफ से आज हम एक बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग सब्जेक्ट पर बातचीत करेंगे। एंड दैट इज समथिंग वेरी नाइस, बिकॉज हर कंट्री ये ट्राई कर रही है कि मेरा एक्सपोर्ट ज्यादा हो और मेरा इंपोर्ट कम हो। क्योंकि जब बैलेंस ऑफ ट्रेड की बातचीत करते हैं, सो समवेयर वी हैव टू वर्क आउट कि हर कंट्री हर चीज को प्रोड्यूस नहीं कर सकती, क्योंकि प्रोडक्शन की कॉस्ट को देखना होगा, प्रोडक्शन की कंजम्पशन को देखना होगा, और किसी चीज को प्रोड्यूस करने में क्या लागत आती है उसको भी हमको देखना होगा। इफ इट इज कॉस्टली टू प्रोड्यूस ए पर्टिकुलर आइटम इन योर कंट्री, देन यू वुड लाइक कि दैट आइटम वी शुड इंपोर्ट because we are spending less money on that. That is logical. And similar way, अगर कोई चीज आपके पास abundance में है और बहुत मैसिव है और मास में है प्रोडक्शन में, तो उसको हम एक्सपोर्ट कैसे करें, उसके लिए भी मार्केटिंग है। We talk about that and we think about it. Let's take on the subject, something very interesting, and that is next to our heart, and we all will talk about it. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, market research and services exports. Now, this is something very important which I wish to share with all of you, कि market research जो होती है, किसी भी प्रोडक्ट को बनाने से पहले, मार्केट में अपने शेयर को देखने से पहले, मार्केट में उस प्रोडक्ट की कंजम्पशन को देखने से पहले, तो उस सारी चीज को समझते हुए वी कैरी आउट ए मार्केट रिसर्च। और सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट्स का मतलब यह है कि फिजिकली आप किसी प्रोडक्ट को नहीं दे रहे हैं, जो एक आइटम होती है टेंजिबल, जिसको आप छू लेते हैं। जैसे मेरे हाथ में ये पेन है, मेरे हाथ में ये नोटबुक है, तो ये चीज को मैं महसूस कर सकता हूं, बिकॉज छू सकता हूं, इट इज टेंजिबल प्रोडक्ट। लेकिन जब मैं सर्विसेज की बातचीत करता हूं, दे आर इनटेंजिबल। सर्विसेज को तो आप महसूस ही करेंगे ना, जैसे आप मेरी आवाज को महसूस कर सकते हैं। लेकिन मेरी आवाज का क्वालिटेटिव फैक्टर या क्वांटिटेटिव फैक्टर, इन दोनों को जब हम लेकर चलते हैं, तो क्वालिटेटिव फैक्टर तो आप देख सकते हैं, पर जो क्वांटिटेटिव फैक्टर है उसको कैसे देखेंगे। और क्वालिटेटिव फैक्टर के अंदर भी यह है, अगर मैं आपके मतलब की बातचीत करूं, आपकी इच्छा की बातचीत करूं, और वो बातचीत करूं जो आपको चाहिए, जो आपको पसंद है, जिसकी आपको जरूरत है, सो यू वुड से इट्स ए क्वालिटी टॉक, इट्स ए डिजर्विंग टॉक, इट्स ए डिजायरेबल टॉक। ये टॉक मुझे चाहिए थी, ये चीज मेरे काम की है। कुछ चीजें आपको अच्छी लगती हैं, कुछ चीजें आपको अच्छी नहीं लगती हैं, कुछ चीजों की कंजम्पशन आपकी ज्यादा होती है, कुछ की कंजम्पशन कम होती है। जब किसी मार्केट में किसी चीज की कंजम्पशन कम होती है, तो उसको बेचने वाले उसकी मार्केट रिसर्च करते हैं कि भाई इसकी कंजम्पशन कम क्यों है। और अगर किसी चीज की मार्केट में कंजम्पशन ज्यादा होती है, तो हम उसका भी एनालिसिस करते हैं। अब सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट्स क्या है, कि जो मेरे सर्विसेज कंपोनेंट्स हैं, जैसे एजुकेशन है, हेल्थ है, वेलनेस है, आईटी है, आईटीएस है, बैंकिंग है, इंश्योरेंस है, ये सब जितने वर्टिकल्स हैं, ये सब सर्विसेज सेक्टर हैं। इनको जब हम लेकर चलते हैं और सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट्स की बातचीत करते हैं, So, ladies and gentlemen, over here we wish to talk what is market research and how to boost. और इस समय आप सबको समझना होगा कि जिस तरीके से लीगल सर्विसेज का एक्सपोर्ट हो रहा है, फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज का एक्सपोर्ट हो रहा है, एजुकेशन की सर्विसेज का एक्सपोर्ट हो रहा है, और उसके अलावा आईटी का एक्सपोर्ट हो रहा है, आईटीईएस का एक्सपोर्ट हो रहा है, ये सब चीजों को जब हम लेकर चलते हैं तो मार्केट रिसर्च का भी एक्सपोर्ट हो रहा है इन सर्विसेज. There are lots of corporate houses, companies, and countries which are utilizing from offshore the market research. Market research कहीं और हो रही है, प्रोडक्ट किसी और कंट्री का है, कंजम्पशन किसी और जगह है. उस सब चीज को जब हम लेकर चलते हैं तो टुडे वी विल टॉक अबाउट वन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट एंड दैट इज कॉल्ड मार्केट रिसर्च एंड सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट्स. आइए इसमें आगे चलते हैं. Today is a very important day, otherwise also by United Nations. It's an international day for the elimination of violence against women. जब violence against women की बातचीत करते हैं तो बहुत सारे तथ्य सामने आए हैं कि कोरोना काल के अंदर lot of injustice has been done in some of the countries with certain women. Now, I would like to make a humble request from our chamber this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are world over, you got to be very polite, you got to be very decent, you got to be very courteous, you got to be very respectful, particularly towards women. क्योंकि जो लेडी है, जो नारी है, वो माँ भी है, वो बेटी भी है, वो बहू भी है, वो टीचर भी है, वो दोस्त भी है, वो जज भी है, वो पुलिस में भी है, वो आर्मी में भी है, वो पॉलिटिक्स में भी है, वो हर जगह है. और इस संसार की सारी रचना नारी से है, विमेन से है. अगर आप विमेन की रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं तो समझिए आप परमात्मा की रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं और आप परमात्मा को याद करते हैं. इसलिए we would like to make a very humble emotional appeal from this platform of our chamber this morning, this afternoon, this evening. Be very nice to ladies, be very courteous and respectful to them. So 25th of November by United Nations, which is being declared violence against women, we respect that and we would like to convey to everybody to be positive and decent and nice. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our chamber is a link between India and the non-resident Indian, those who have gone abroad, and the corporate sector. And from time to time, we keep making lots of reports. Now, subject is MR, market research. एक search होती है, एक research होती है. When we take that into consideration, you got to see over here what exactly is market research. And you have to understand what is the purpose of market research. Why do we carry out market research? That is something very important which we have to take into consideration. What is the purpose of market research? Why do we have market research? Now, the process of determining the viability of the new service or product through research, which is conducted directly with the potential customers, that, ladies and gentlemen, we have to value and we have to convey, and that's the market research. So we are searching the market, we are researching the market once again, which product is consumed, how much, where, when, which way, in what quantity, and what exactly is the consumption pattern desirable as a forecast for future. Now, there's a market research and there's a marketing research. When you talk about market research versus marketing research, you got to understand that there is an overlapping also. When you talk about market research, it's a market research which involves identifying basically a specific target and focusing exclusively on that group. It's a research into a narrow group of consumers to understand their behavior, their motivation, वो किसी चीज को क्यों इस्तेमाल करते हैं, कहाँ इस्तेमाल करते हैं, कब इस्तेमाल करते हैं. So that is the part we take into consideration. Now, when we talk about that, let's proceed further and we try and understand What exactly is marketing research? And when I talk about marketing research has a broader scope because that market research, now it is used to examine the entire marketing process of a company rather than only looking at the consumer that a company is targeting. Okay, it's a very broader scope which we have to take into considerations. Now, why market research? Why do we carry out market research? We want to improve communication, we want to improve consumption, we want more and more people should use it, we want to identify where are the opportunities, and we want to lower our risks as far as the new product coming in the market or new services coming in the market, because आप चाहते हैं कम से कम रिस्क रहे और आपका प्रोडक्ट की कंजम्पशन मार्केट में हो. Now, why marketing research? When we talk about marketing research, it could be, this includes like a public relation, modes of distribution, development of new products and new services, which we take into consideration, promotion and advertising, pricing, market condition, branding, all that when we take into consideration, marketing research helps you to learn not just what your customers want, but how successful your business is at reaching and connecting with those potential customers. That is something which you have to understand. Now, marketing research services to a foreign nation. Now, we are talking about services exports. So it is very important that the marketing research or the market research, what we are carrying out, how do we help out offshore? That means in a foreign country. That is something very important. Now, what is services export? Let's look at it. Any services which are provided by a resident in one country to the people or the companies in another country is termed as services exports. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we got to be taking into consideration over here for 4 modes of, services marketing. And when we talk about market research and market research export as services to other country, that is something very important which we have to see. Now, there are 4 modes of services exports. One is the cross-border trade, one is the consumption abroad, one is the commercial presence, and one is the movement of natural people moving to other country for that particular service. Now, international marketing research procedure. When we look at the market survey, when we carry out a survey in a market, why do we carry out? Because as I have already told you, we want our product to be launched properly, or if our product is already there in the market, उसकी सर्विस को और अच्छा कैसे कर सकते हैं, उसकी कंजम्पशन को कैसे बढ़ा सकते हैं, एडिशनल कस्टमर्स को कैसे लेकर आ सकते हैं. और अगर हम सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं मार्केट रिसर्च की आज, बिकॉज दैट इज द टॉपिक व्हेन वी आर टेकिंग इनटू कंसिडरेशन, यू गॉट टू अंडरस्टैंड the objectives of the research in the light of the marketing problem to be investigated and decisions to be made, determining the information required to throw light on the problem to be solved, determining the methodology and planning the collection of information, actual collection of information from predetermined sources, analysis and interpretation of information, preparation of the report. Because as I told you earlier, one is called the initial report, then there's a detailed report, and then there is a detailed project report. All that different phases are there. There are 12 steps, which you take while writing the research proposal. किसी भी कंपनी के लिए कोई अगर आप research proposal बनाते हैं, goods के लिए, services के लिए, it's very important to understand over here. Step 1, make a great introduction. Step 2, state the problem, provide background, declare the purpose, formulate a clear hypothesis, review literature, explain methods, state significance, define your terms, tell your readers about your research assumption, define scope and limitation, explain the procedure. All that has to be taken into consideration. Now, there are 5 important steps to create a project report from scratch, right from the beginning. Which are those 5 the steps which you have to take into. First step, know your objective. Sit down, evaluate your objectives, understand what do you want to describe, explain, recommend, and prove with your report. Having set your goals with not only will help you to proceed with your project report, but also will help the readers to understand from your point of view, what have you given in that particular report. Point number 2, recognize your audience. This is all we are talking about: preparing a project report, creating a project report. It could be a detailed project report also. Number 2, recognize your audience. That means your customer, your potential customer. Your customer plays an essential role in making your project report a success. A formal annual report differs from a financial report. The language, the representation of the data, the analysis changes per your target audience. All the stats which you give in any particular report, it has to be objective oriented, audience oriented, potential market oriented. किसके लिए वो report बन रही है? Number 3, data collection. Now, this is also again very important. The chances of you having a solid report is when the data supports it. That means the data plays, the data is the new oil. Data is very important. How have you collected the data? How have you synthesized the data? How have you used the data? How you have tabulated the data? And what exactly do you want out of that data? The data plays an essential role in making people believe in your derivations, whatever you want to convey. Because data से ये पता लगता है ना, इतने टूरिस्ट आए, इतने टूरिस्ट चले गए, इस होटल की ऑक्यूपेंसी इतनी रही, इस होटल के अंदर इतनी ऑक्यूपेंसी बढ़ रही है, इस रेस्टोरेंट में इतने ज्यादा लोग आ रहे हैं. So that all is what? Data. Also, support your claim by citing sources such as the case studies, surveys, interviews, whatever is possible, because data plays a very important role for all of you. Next step, structure the report. This is the next step while you're creating a project report right from the beginning, right from the scratch. Now, what do you mean by structure the report? A project report is further divided into some sections. There could be 4 most common divisions of any project report: summary, introduction, body, and conclusion. When you talk about summary, okay, the summary gives the reader a download of all covered in the project report. Even though a summary is placed at the beginning of the project report, you can only write it once your entire report is complete. Then comes your introduction part. Mention the outline of the report, give the context and the mention and the scope and the methodology which has been used in the report. And then comes the main body. This is the lengthy section of the report as it contains background details, analysis, data, and graphics. And finally comes the conclusion part. This section brings the entire project report together. So, ladies and gentlemen, this slide is very, very important. We had gone to the, when you write, you generally say title page, abstract, then the content page, then the introduction, then you give the background, theory, aims, then you come on to the methodology, what you have used, what are the results, discussion, conclusion, recommendation, because finally you would like to give your recommendations also from your side for that particular project. Now, the 5th one, edit and proofread. Once your project report is ready, read it multiple times with some time gap. You can ask your co-workers to review it. And you can ask even some of your family members and your colleagues to ask certain questions. And if they have got any observation, that's always good. Now, things to remember in writing the project report. Write for the reader. जिसके लिए आप project report बना रहे हैं, keep that in your mind. Bear in mind that the report is written for other people and not for yourself, not for you. Things to remember. Number 2, the report should have a structure. There may be different types of reports, but one thing they have in common is that all of them require to be written following a particular structure. That is something very important. Ensure that the report is evidence-based and is supported by data. A credible and extensive project report is underpinned by a significant amount of data, whether it is about the performance of the team or a comprehensive report about the project result. That is something very important. Make it as an objective as possible. There's a clear distinction between facts and opinions. Then come, ladies and gentlemen, there are a number of ways project reporting helps an organization's team and even the project itself here. There are some of them which you got to understand. It tracks the progress of the project. It helps identifying risks. It helps manage project cost. It gives stakeholders an insight on how the project is performing. There are 8 most effective methods in international market research. Number 1, overseas business research. Number 2, collecting foreign government information. Number 3, collecting information from NGOs. Next, face-to-face research, text message surveys, online surveys, mobile web surveys, remote face-to-face surveys, and of course, market research and consultancy services should provide market size estimations and demand forecasting. Now, what exactly and how do you provide the market size estimations and the demand forecasting? What is the market potential? You have to allocate segment-wise, application-wise, geographical area-wise. You got to break up accordingly. Projection of the growth could be for next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever projection you want to work it out. Key customers and their preferences that you have to take into consideration. Understanding of buying behavior of customers, that is again very important. अगर आप ऐसी जगह पे एक कोई बहुत कॉस्टली सैलून खोल लेते हैं जहां पर लोग 10 रुपए की कटिंग कराना चाहते हैं, that saloon is not going to be successful. You got to understand who are your key customers and what are their preferences, what is their paying capacity, how much can they pay, what is their buying behavior, what is their consumption pattern. All that you have to take into consideration. Purchase procedures and preferences, market share of the major players and their competitive strength, existing competitors and substitutes in the market, trend analysis, price point analysis, gap analysis, all that has to be taken into consideration. So, ladies and gentlemen, whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Let's come together. Market research is one of a very important components in services export, and India can do wonderful as far as this part is concerned. And that's why I just thought, let me share with all of you. Today we complete 1,732 webinars, which we started on 25th of March. Tomorrow on 26th of November, 8 p.m., we will have innovative trends in education and skills for future teachers. Do join us tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. We look forward to meeting you tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you very much for being with us today. Look forward to meeting you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Thank you. Namaskar. Professor Saab, we missed you.
मैं क्या करूं, मैडम का बर्थडे है सर, आज थोड़ा लेट हो गया मैं. So today is our 41st birthday. So
heartiest congratulations to madam. Heartiest congratulations to madam.
So thoda sa you have to, today was, you have to excuse me.
No worries.
I woke up, I was early and all that, but we had some old friends calling for our birthday. Thoda sa vyast ho gaya, sorry.
No worries. No worries. No worries, Professor Saab.
Aja, please come here. आप विश कर लीजिए मैडम को. But sir, can I tell you one thing? You covered marketing research better than what I would have covered.
No, ऐसा मत कहिए. We are live over here in the audience in the globe. We are in the global audience on the YouTube.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, we are with the global audience, and lots of best wishes to Madam on her happy birthday. And we would like to wish her. This program is going live, Professor Saab, on the YouTube channel, and we wish Madam a very happy birthday. May she enjoys a good health, wellness, long life, and a wonderful family. All three of you, your little doll, and respected Madam, all of you, we would like that you should enjoy each and every moment of your life.
Thank you, sir. And so, I think, what is point I was trying to make was you covered the points so eloquently, but I think in a future episode, I'm just putting the trailer for the next episode. We got to look at why India is very fit for marketing. And I speak to that because I studied marketing in India, but I also teach marketing in the US. And the discipline demands a certain combination of intellectual, analytical abilities and good communication skills. I think the Indian schools do produce that in a good number. And so we have a wonderful base. A lot of renowned marketing scholars are of Indian origin. So how do we use all that to be a force multiplier to make India a hub for global marketing research outsourcing? I think we need to deliberate on that. I mean, to me, I think the rest of the stuff is all details which you covered so well in, apne bahut acha, I mean that genuinely. You really placed it. But for example, I think it is important. We probably have to cover some pieces like, how do you do sampling? How do you collect data? And just say chote businesses here, because I think your big thrust is on small and medium enterprises. Small and medium enterprises, in my opinion, cannot afford to have in-house marketing research. So it is important that ICICI provide this kind of a service, whether on a fee basis or a lot of it even by free webinars, because I think a lot of data today is available. A lot of things are available online. You can use a lot of free open source software to do analysis. It is important that we focus on some of those things. So for example, I teach both marketing research and marketing analytics. And then there is a whole discipline called marketing metrics. We have to go into these topics. These are some things I teach for a living. So we can look at sector, each topic-wise coverage in few webinars. But the reason I say that, sir, is, India has a vantage position. The reason India was started as a planned economy, the Planning Commission had a whole division for statistic collection. And the Indian Economic Service also, we have, there is there, the data collection is of a high order in India. There is a data integrity. And when you have good data, then you can definitely, as they say, garbage in, garbage out. The quality of the data that you put in will refine the quality of the model. So you need good critical thinking skills for modeling, but you also need some good skills in terms of being able to do the data needs to be of a high order. And I think now in the digital penetration being of a high order in India, there's a lot of opportunities for data analysis. The data that we produce can be analyzed. India has been probably doing very well in a fintech sense, the digital UPI and all that, and that produces data. So which means you have more analytics that can be done. And so there is that in-house advantage that India has got because of our own legacy with data, because of our own skill institutions that are very good. For example, the IITs produce good quantitatively talented individuals, but even the IIMs, there's a lot of emphasis on analysis and critical thinking. And these lie at the heart of a good marketing research career. Of course, the pay may not be high, but if you can develop those skills, you can actually go on to become an expert in the industry. And then, of course, let's not forget that even in the US, a lot of professors who teach marketing are of Indian origin. Of course, the legend there, the first person who put, we say, the man who's set his foot on the moon is none other than our own beloved Dr. Padma Bhushan awardee, Dr. Jagdish Seth. So with that kind of names, India can go into the next level where we can, and our institutions are also of a very high caliber. Because when I was in a sabbatical, I've seen the kind of content that is being taught. The pedagogy when it comes to market research is of a very high order, and that is important, sir, because you have to develop that critical thinking. But it is just not mathematics, but it is being able to apply and understand and interpret the results and being able to convey it to the manager so that they can make good decisions. So that is at the heart of marketing research. To me, it is all about that. Can you do good math, and can you demystify the math to a layman? If you possess these two skills, you're going to be a good marketing researcher.
Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
asking the right questions, and that is something that is very native to the Indian tradition. All our scriptures, all our Indian knowledge system starts only with questioning. We don't care about the answers as much. Ask the right questions. Do you have fever is okay, but why do you have fever? The insight. And the thermometer will measure the fever, temperature, and you can see if you can make a judgment whether it's a fever or not. Similarly, you can do market research, if the sales are declining or not. But why is it declining? Asking those questions and answering them, setting up hypotheses, that critical thinking is what is important. I think there is a lot of tools. But remember, आजकल तो इतना computing power है, आप एक दो बटन दबा दीजिए तो आपका पूरा रिजल्ट इतना आ जाएगा. बट उससे क्या फायदा? वो बात हूं, उस पे नहीं जाना चाहता हूं मैं चाहता हूं कि we know, understand and how to interpret it. उसको समझ में आ जाए ना. And that is why it is important we focus on the understanding, the analysis. तो उसके लिए critical thinking की भी जरूरत है, डॉक्टर साहब. And in India, the other challenge, which is also an opportunity, you have 15 kind of languages. So एक questionnaire आप एक भाषा में बनाएंगे, that has challenges. You can't use the same questionnaire what you do in Haryana, in even probably Uttar Pradesh, because even the same language is Hindi, the culture varies. So अब data को कैसे analyze करेंगे? So these are all the problems that people face in international marketing research, but that is magnified in a country with the kind of diversity that of the order of magnitude of India. So both इस पे सारा हमको, so I'm just laying out a roadmap. So if you're talking of marketing research, डॉक्टर साहब आज मैंने कुछ presentation के लिए कुछ देखा नहीं है. मैं अपना insight सारा जो है ये मेरा जो 20 साल का जो अनुभव है उससे मैं बता रहा हूँ कि ये marketing इंडिया में कैसे किया जाए. And काफी रूरल इंडिया में भी डेटा कभी-कभी मुश्किल है मिलना. But so how do you interpret it? How do you collect the right data? तो insights कैसे बनते हैं? आपके qualitative research skills कैसे analyze किया जाए? तो इस पे बहुत ध्यान देना चाहिए. And marketing research programs are very good in India. MICA is good, and the IIMs have very good programs. तो इस पे तो कोई शक नहीं है. But हमको अगर इसको industry बनाना है, if you have to make this more like a digital university, तो इस पे थोड़ा काम करना पड़ेगा. Because I teach marketing management to my students, and one thing I find is it's a great opportunity, but it also has challenges. Because आप classroom में बैठ के 10 बंदों को पकड़ा सकते हैं कि ये statistics है, ऐसा करना चाहिए. But how do you tease out their critical thinking skills? Those will be important. And but I think that is where it is a very good challenge to have. But the other thing is, then there is also the issue of GPDR, other privacy laws that are there in US and EU. Where does the data belong to? So marketing research may be challenge. But so there's all these things that we need to be aware of. मैं चाहता हूँ कि हम इस पे थोड़ा सा, let us break down into pieces. जैसे रोटी, एक बड़ा रोटी जो पराठा होता है ना. In fact, I've seen Rota. They have, when I went, they say they advertise it is the world's largest paratha. And but probably so in Rohtak maybe people can consume it, and there is a challenge. If you can eat 3 of them, they can give you non-stop paratha for life or something. There is a challenge, very interesting challenge. So हम तो ऐसा नहीं कर सकते ना. We have to break it down, what we call as incremental, piece करके piecemeal approach पे थोड़ा सा baby steps लेंगे. But आज Daksha, but truth be told, I joined the call somewhere in the middle. And आपका पूरा विश्लेषण मैं सुन रहा था. आज मैं शिष्य के माध्यम से, शिष्य के रूप में आपसे मैं बहुत कुछ सीखा. The way you understood, you have given the concepts, it is very important. In fact, you cannot be there. You have been a good market researcher yourself. You have set up 2 wonderful institutions that are very successful. How did you get that? I think the critical thinking. So tools वगैरह सीखा सकते हैं. कोई भी Python सीख लेगा, RAR सीख लेगा. ये critical thinking के लिए important है. And that is what we have to develop. And ICISIA, so we need competitions, we need case competitions, business plan competitions, all that. Even coding competitions. तो उससे ये critical thinking भी अच्छा होता है. I don't know, Dr. Saab, I mean, today it was a very interesting thing. I was finishing up and planning to take my wife out for a good marketing research. उस पे कर रहा था, तो उसको क्या पसंद है? Because in
Okay.
marriage you have to understand only one consumer, that is your wife. Meaning, what do they like? That is the key to happy marriage. Market research, so it works at the level of a whole society. It works at the level of an individual. तो आपको ये so the beauty is you have to put your मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि मार्केट रिसर्च का इसका भी एक फायदा है कि यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड पीपल बेटर. यू हैव टू रिसर्च पीपल. सो आज मैं वो कर रहा था. सो मैं आपसे क्षमा याचना करता हूँ कि मैं थोड़ा देर आया. होपफुली मैं देर आया, दुरुस्त तो आ गया. तो आज मैं शर्मा जी से मैं इतना आपके साथ मेरा वो प्यार है कि आप जब बुलाएं और हम ना आए तो ऐसा नहीं होता ना. तो शर्मा जी मैं थैंक यू सो मच. आई थिंक वी हैड अ गुड. आई थिंक कभी कभी क्या होता है ना, द इनसाइट्स दैट यू गेट विदाउट टू मच प्रिपरेशन इज मच मोर स्किलफुल. But I think we have to go on a very dedicated path. We can start about what are some market research problems companies face, and then we can talk about what are some data sources available in India. We can break it up. मैं आपको एक अपना मार्केट रिसर्च वाला जो किताब का फ्रेमवर्क है वो बेचता हूँ, उसके ऊपर पे हम बात करेंगे. एंड नाउ हाउ डज मार्केट रिसर्च इंटरफेस विद मार्केटिंग एनालिटिक्स, उस पर भी बात करना है. सो इसमें काफी दक्षप एटलीस्ट एक मेगा सीरियल की तरह हम 20-25 एपिसोड तो बनाएंगे, बिकॉज इतना विषय है. एंड मैं आपसे ये भी प्रपोज करता हूं कि हम कोई जब महान हस्तियां हैं इस क्षेत्र में, जैसे प्रोफेसर जगदीश शेठ साहब, और उनसे भी सलाह मशवरा करेंगे. एंड वी नीड टू ब्रिंग देम एंड टॉक अबाउट हाउ कैन वी मेक दिस अ ग्लोबल डेस्टिनेशन. भारत को बनाना चाहिए हमको. इट इज अ पैशन फॉर मी डेफिनेटली. इतना है. जैसे वी बिकेम मेडिकल आउटसोर्सिंग में हुआ, बीपीओ हुआ, टेली मेडिकल ट्रांसक्रिप्शन में हुआ. आई थिंक दिस कुड बी अ डेफिनेट अपॉर्चुनिटी. Of course, there are challenges
Thank you.
because everybody will be very careful about their marketing data. Not bringing it to other countries is also a challenge. ये भी हमको जानकारी रखना है. So if you can't, then maybe what happens is you create such skilled personnel that they can go as manpower experts. वो भी कर सकते हैं.
Services exports, market research, that is the segment and that is the topic we had taken today. We will take it further. Initially, what you mentioned, a very important point. Thank you very much for the insight what you have given. And initially, when you covered and when you mentioned, I was still thinking about that and analyzing when you talked about SMEs, that is the small, medium groups. And over there, we have to take into consideration, they cannot afford too much of money for market research. And I'm taking an example. Let's take it, travel agent, tour operator, tourist transporter, small dhabe wala, or for that matter, other people, those are running small business. How they should get the reliable, authentic market, the scanning, and they get the complete insight. Big companies, they can afford, they can pay the money and everything is there. So I personally feel, depending on your convenience, this particular topic requires thread bearing one more session one of these days, and thereafter then we proceed and we further take it on how this subject has to be covered. Because I personally feel, when we are talking about services exports, where we have touched, Talati ji, the chairman of the SCPC, he talked about financial services, accounting services. Somebody else talked about legal services. Somebody else had come, travel, tourism, hospitality, that is also services. Education export is also services. And some skills which are going abroad for a short duration is also services. I'm very keen, and our chamber is very keen, if we can do a thorough research on how market research can be taken up as a segment separately as a services exports.
Absolutely. Dr. Saab, actually, I wanted to bring home, since you mentioned, I hope we are not running out of time.
No.
No.
Please take your time.
See, in IIM Ahmedabad, which is one of the most premier institutions, way back then, there was a marketing legendary professor, Professor Ora. He used to have what's called as a small business clinic, where he would analyze the small business, just not marketing, but even their balance sheet and all. and उनको एक clean, but he used to do like a health survey kind of a thing. मैं ये मॉडल जो है मुझे मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा. Of course, in the US, I'm involved with my entrepreneurship institute, and so we have SBDC, Small Business Development Center, which kind of does business plans for small businesses, and then there is a Texas Manufacturing Group, which provides help to the Texas manufacturers. तो ऐसा मॉडल्स है जिसको एक्सटेंशन बोलते हैं ना, MEP बोलते हैं, एक्सटेंशन प्रोग्राम्स यूनिवर्सिटीज में होता है. मैं चाहता था कि ऐसा कुछ मॉडल इंडिया में ऑलरेडी थोड़ा बहुत जगह पे है, इसको थोड़ा बड़ा जगह पे हो जाएगा तो उससे द चेंबर्स ऑफ कॉमर्स कैन बी इंटरफेस देयर, देन उस पे क्या हो सकता है, स्मॉल बिजनेसेस कैन बिकम इंस्टीट्यूशनल मेंबर्स फॉर अ relatively small piece of funding, like 5,000 rupees per year or something, and that can work with students and they can do industry projects. इसको एक सर्विस लर्निंग का भी एक कॉन्सेप्ट आ जाता है, where students will work on live projects, and this way what happens is they get a very good exposure to the industry, and small and medium enterprises can get the access to skilled labor at a very fraction of the cost. And you're right, they cannot do in-house, and they may not even have the expertise to do it in-house. ऐसा कुछ, because अभी new education policy में, that is what I thought, industry interface is so important. Professor of practice is coming. I think if professors of practice who have worked in industries can come and run these extension centers, and they can kind of funnel projects for students in good institutions. That is one model. This is more of a policy model I wanted to propose. But I think you're right. I mean, even webinars for small and medium enterprises is important. But we have to understand what their institution, what their marketing research needs are, and how we can fulfill that. Actually, हमको भी थोड़ा research करना है उनके ऊपर कि उनको क्या चाहिए, किस पे problem होती है. And if they can collaborate and they can do a small, like a cost sharing model, we can do a lot of service in-house for them.
It's very important. And also when we are talking about market research, we close down on this note that environmental services is also very important segment, which is to be taken into consideration, particularly when we are talking about zero carbon, we are talking about climate change, we are talking about, the shift in the weather and climatic conditions world over, because that's going to give a somersault to everything in the entire universe. So somewhere, let's take market research for services. First, we talk about market research for services, the complete components, what all is needed. Then we go on to market research as a segment, as a entity separately, how it can be taken as a services export, and which are the countries and which are the industries. We can take some major industries in a services component which can be taken, and that is the way we can build up the entire narrative.
Absolutely, sir. I think it is important to look at who are the top players in this field, because and of course everything started with the kind of in the advent of television in US. So I think we should even look at how this function evolved, because the US is probably the biggest market and the biggest player in this whole field. And and I was very fortunate because I did my PhD at the University of Texas at Arlington, where they had a master's program in marketing research. So it was a whole program dedicated to that function. And I was intimately involved and knew the people who ran it. And with that, what happens is I got a good insight into how that industry works. And of course, Dallas Fort Worth, where where the Arlington and all is based, that Metroplex is the home to a lot of consumer product companies. So वहाँ पे बहुत है, Chicago में काफी है, Philadelphia has a lot of market research dedicated to healthcare. So वो भी हमने देखा है कि specialized market research firms क्या करते हैं. So there's a lot of interest there, and a lot of folks of Indian origin who have done very well. Like there is a methodology called conjoint analysis that was started. Yes. So all that was, our people have played a role. Then there is a, when the people started scanning loyalty programs, so scanner panel data both famous ho gaya tha. So that again, a lot of people have done wonderful work, and now there is customer lifetime value. So market research is very evolving and a dynamic field, and now everything is now tied to analytics. पहले तो आपको पूछना था आप क्या कर रहे हैं, आजकल चाहिए नहीं, because everybody has a digital footprint. मैं क्या खरीद रहा हूँ, Amazon knows better than me. मुझे उनको पता है कि मेरा वेडिंग डे कौन सा दिन है, मैंने क्या साड़ी लेके दिया था. Assuming I just have only one wife and one wedding day, then it's easy for it to track. नहीं तो कंफ्यूज कर देगा तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा. Let us say we had somebody had, we had a lot of the problem is, but the point I'm trying to drive home is that we have that level of data sophistication these days. So artificial intelligence is all over the place, and the internet of things. And but guess what, all of this generates more data. So ये जब data आएगा तो दोबारा you have to analyze that data ना. Data is like it's like गेहूं, तो उसका आटा बना के रोटी बनाना है तो वो तो एनालिटिक्स वाले ही करेंगे, मार्केटिंग रिसर्च वाले ही करेंगे ना. So हम तो एक तरह से बावर्ची की तरह है. So we will take the data, उसको पीसेंगे, कूटेंगे, we'll make analysis and all that. But anyway, that I think today is Black Friday. Black Friday is very, in the US is the day when they say, people's profits, the retailers' profits start to go into black, meaning they go into profit mode because people are shopping. They're shopping for their holiday and the Christmas season. So आजकल बहुत sale चल रहा है sir. So and as a market researcher, I go and participate in the sales. तो क्योंकि उससे मेरा अगले साल का कहानी बनता है कि क्या सेल में था, क्या नहीं था. हर साल कोई नया सेल में होता है. पहले तो लोग रात को जागते थे भगवान का दर्शन के लिए. शिवरात्रि पे जागे ना जागे, वो तो ब्लैक फ्राइडे पे तो रोज वो रात को सोते थे स्टोर के आगे, क्योंकि उनको PS3 का अगला वो चाहिए, अगला वो प्ले स्टेशन चाहिए बच्चे के लिए. ऐसा हमारे लोग काम करते हैं. और मैंने ये भी देखा है कि हमारे जो हिंदुस्तानी भाई होते हैं, अगर वो कोई स्टोर के पास है, उनका बहुत बड़ा सेटलमेंट है, तो वहां आपको कुछ डील नहीं मिलेगा. अब तो कहीं जंगल में जाएंगे तब जो डील मिलेगा. तो ये सब मैंने बहुत रिसर्च करके रखा है. तो दिस इज अ वेरी फैसिनेटिंग डे फॉर मी एज अ मार्केटर. मैं स्टडी करता हूँ कि क्या सेल पे जा रहा है, क्या नहीं जा रहा है. But there are some things that are not for sale. Some things can be only got, and that is the love from you and ICICI is something very special to me, sir. So thank you for understanding my situation. And I'm like the guy who came late, but I think we got something out of this whole meeting, sir. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. And lots of people on the YouTube are conveying best wishes for Madam for her happy birthday. So may God bless her. And may God bless your family. Please take her out. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
I have a good reason for being late. I have a good alibi for being. But thank you, Gulchan. Thank you for blessing. Thank you to the whole ICICI family.
Thank you.
And we'll be back. We'll be back with more thoughts about ICE.